This video is going to be a little bit different than what you're used to. This is going to be more of a journal entry that I wrote. It's going to be raw, unfiltered, and real. This is going to be me reacting to a post that I made on Facebook where I was just pouring out my feelings, and you could definitely guarantee and tell that I was having a down day. Now I'm in a different mind space and I feel better. I want to break it down with you because I believe that there's other women who feel the same but just can't tell anyone else. I go through it too. I fight battles that no one sees, and I got to a point where I just wanted to express myself without faking behind a fake smile. It's so important to be vulnerable because it reminds people that we're all going through it. And from this same post, I got so many messages of people saying how much they related. And I didn't realize that till after. So we're gonna unpack this together. And now that I look back, I'm like, dang, I really put it down. This was the first line. It sucks when you have to put on a fake smile and act like everything is okay. Pretend like you had a good week, but you really hadn't. But the truth was, you were fighting for dear life, holding on to a string. Nakia, how was your week? Me, it was great. Fake smile. When I wrote this line, I felt like I was around a bunch of people, but I couldn't truly express myself on how I truly felt. Because I feel like sometimes when people ask this question, they're not really asking you to really tell them how your week was. They're just asking you this out of formalities. So you could say, good, it's good. Okay, that's good. I'm good too. Bye. They're really asking this so they can go about their day and so they can feel good about themselves. They checked a box. And I think that was my last straw. And at that moment, and the person was nice. Nothing wrong with this person. I just felt tired and I was like, man, I'm tired of putting on this fake smile and wish I could just say what I really think. But you know, sometimes you don't want to be that person pouring out all the stuff that you're going through. And I was in this place where I felt like I was trying to keep my head above water. I was trying not to drown. And sometimes it takes a toll because at the same time, you don't want to put your business on other people, be a burden. But I just wish that we could be more transparent with people without feeling like you're scaring them away. It gets tiring to pretend. It takes so much energy to pretend than it is to be transparent. And sometimes it just gets tiring because I recognize that this is a norm. Is people don't truly say how they feel and then they go home and have to deal with those battles by themselves. And then the post continues. I've been told by a spiritual leader how they want me to be prosperous in all areas of my life. But the truth is, all I need to be abundant in is my financial life. It's a different perspective when you're single, you're not married, you don't have support, especially for family, you don't have support anywhere else. In order for me to survive, I need to be financially sound. That has become a main priority for me because I recognize that if I'm down and out, no one's coming to save me. No one's there to help me. I continue on with this post. Most people wouldn't understand this. When you come from a background where you don't have any support and you don't have family, and this is all you have, because when you have seasons that are so dry and you don't have anyone else to call, you quickly learn how powerful it is to be successful. There's people who may disagree with me on this. And the people who don't understand this most likely have support in their life. If they ever needed help with their mortgage or rent, or they're down and out, they have someone that they can run to. They can ask for whatever they're lacking and they will have it. They will get it. And for me, there's times where I feel like I'm stuck in a box and the season is so dry. And I go through highs and I go through lows when it comes to making money. And I understand it's expected. That's life. Seasons are always going to change, and that's something I've learned, that you're going to have good seasons and you're going to have bad seasons. There's going to be seasons that feel like the summertime and everything is blooming, and that's when it's so nice. But then there's going to be seasons where it feels like winter and it's so cold and you're then dying for the summer to come. It's so powerful to be in a summer season and you're completely thriving. Those are the times where I don't have to depend on anyone, and I love it. It feeds into my pride. I don't have to be vulnerable. I'll even throw this in there because I know we're being real here. I can get very comfortable in those seasons, and I don't have to trust God as much. Like, I don't have to lean on him as much. And I know I should. I'm not saying I shouldn't, but that's the truth. When the seasons are so good, it's like, there's a feeling of, well, I don't have to trust God as much, so it's easier then to then have faith in God because everything is working around me. There's a part of me that when I'm making a lot of money, I feel so powerful because of the things I've been through. When I'm having really good season, it feeds into the part where I'm like, okay, like I don't have to depend on anyone else. There's a part of me that I don't have to be vulnerable and I can just be me and be on my own. AKA, it doesn't stretch me. I hate that feeling of not having control over the things I want to control. Yes, I said it. I said it. I feel that in my chest when I say that. And when I reread that sentence that I wrote, it was so powerful to me because I admitted it. As much as I recognize it as growth when I don't have control and I have to trust God, I hate that feeling of not having control that I want. And I know God should be in control, but it's the idea of loving to be self-efficient. And recently there was a sense of reflection. I was at church and the Holy Spirit told me, like, this was the first time in years that you have not been self-efficient. And God just wants to love me and do things for me with me not being in control. And it's requiring a lot of faith out of me. It requires a lot of faith to not be in control. And I know that it's way better to trust God because he can give you way better things than if you take control of it and try to do it on your own. To me, what being in control equates to is not having to trust anyone, not being hurt by anyone, not being vulnerable to anyone, not showing that soft side. And I guess growing up, I had to grow very quickly. Some people call me an old soul. And I learned not to lean on people. I learned how to survive, basically be in that survival mode. So there's times where I still struggle to let God be in control. I hate when I'm not in control. But I still struggle with that at times because I don't know how to make things move. I don't know how to move forward. If I'm weighing out probabilities of different situations and it keeps on ending at the worst part or keeps on ending at a not so ideal conclusion, that stuff gets me very frustrated. Most people can run to their family and get help and support, but I don't have that. I'm all by myself. I don't fit into the mold because most people don't relate. I'm a social butterfly in the middle of the room, but behind closed doors, I'm fighting mentally, physically, and emotionally. So I want to be clear, it's not that I'm lonely. I'm yearning for someone. But most of the time, there's a sense of me that feels like I'm all by myself. And don't get me wrong, I've made the friends. I'm a social butterfly. I light up the room. I love doing things with friends and new people. But there's times where I feel so segregated. I don't fit the mold. I'm an outsider. Most people don't understand what it's like to spend Christmas by yourself, to be by yourself on holidays, and not have the typical dinners, have a bunch of family around you. And most people don't even think of that. And how I know is because most people that I'm friends with or that I'm around don't even ask. Oh, how was your holiday? They just assume that you were around family because they were. Most people are ignorant to that. I suggest if you have friends around you and you know they don't have family, ask them when it comes to holidays. Ask them. You'll make their day. There's many times where I have to keep on reminding myself, I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I have to fight off that feeling that no one cares. I have to literally fight that feeling off. I don't have time to be down. When I wrote that one sentence, I could feel all the emotions just flooding back. Because yes, I take time for emotions. I journal. But when I'm saying this, there's a sense of feeling that I cannot afford to be down and have down days because it slows me down. And when I get slowed down, there's no one else around me that can pick up from where I left off. Let me know if you can relate to that in the comments. That's how I truly feel. I'm just being real. For example, when someone loses their job, they can go years looking for a job because they have support elsewhere. Have you ever seen those people where they're like, oh, I've been looking for a job for over 2 years now? And in the back of your mind, you're thinking to yourself, how on earth did you survive? Because I wouldn't be able to ever look for a job for 2 years and be able to survive. And life still goes on for them. They continue doing their thing. But if I'm down, I can't afford that because I need to keep going. Someone needs to keep the fort going. Someone needs to keep on going to see the dreams come alive. See the purpose come alive. Because then there's ideas that are not happening. Videos are not happening. Money is not coming in. It's my job to get myself back up. And I have to do it. It's not like I can just be like, okay, let me sit back and just close my eyes and block my ears. I've learned a lot of coping skills over the years. I'm getting myself back up way quicker because it used to be weeks at a time. Thank God. But now it's like I can be down for a few hours or a day and then I get back up. But it takes a lot of willpower. And that's the part that most people don't talk about. We talk about, oh, we are responsible for ourselves. No one's going to save you. But it takes a lot of willpower to get back up. The thoughts come when no one is there. And that little voice just keeps on telling you, you're all alone. No one cares about you. Look at how you're feeling. And you have to always counter all those thoughts over and over again. Everything is usually all good when I'm having fun and I'm around people that I adore. But I find most of the dark thoughts, the battles come at nighttime when you're all alone and you're all in your head and there's no one there to distract you. And you'll quickly realize that most people are caught up with their own lives. So sometimes people will forget to ask how you're doing. That's just the realities of it. So you'll find out most of the battles, you're all alone. It's when you're all alone in your head and you're crying and you're trying to figure out solutions and you feel down and out and you don't know who you would turn to because you recognize that people have their own things going on. So you have to deal with it on your own and overcome those battles and win them. And then I would wake up the next day and go on with my day like I didn't have a whole battle the night before and repeat. I problem solve, analyze my situation, weigh out every probability, and come to a dead end over and over again. Sometimes I get in my head so much that I would just start to analyze and I would start to look at a situation over and over again without having a solution. And I feel like I'm just banging into a wall. And I find whenever I do this, it just holds me back. It just gets me frustrated. Especially if it's a situation that I feel like I'm stuck in and it feels like I won't ever get out of it because I can't see it. And this is usually the sign that I need to look beyond my circumstances. This is a sign where I feel like it's when I need to bring in some imaginations in my affirmations. But it's easier said than done. This is a time where you would trust God. There's times where you just try to figure it out in your own strength because you get so caught up and consumed with your present circumstances that everything else that you know that you should do goes out the door. So there's times where I just feel like that. Where it's a dead end. Am I going to get out of this? Am I going to win this? Am I going to win this race? Like, I've asked that question to myself many times. Am I going to win the race? And now I'm looking at it from the outside and just reading that one line. It's like, I have to remember to think of evidence of times where I felt stuck and God took me out. But at a time in a moment, sometimes you forget those things. But it's reminding yourself, okay, where did God take me out of? And where has he brought me to this state? I know it's important to dream, but sometimes I want to stop dreaming and just live in that reality. People will celebrate my accomplishments while I feel hollow inside. All I see is it isn't the gold medal or the destination. That line was very deep for me at the time I wrote it because there's times where I get so frustrated because I'm not where I feel like I need to be or where I thought I was going to be. And we all know that we should dream, but we tend to dream less and less as we get older. We probably dream way more when we're a child, but then life gets in the way. I think at that point, I was like, man, I'm just tired of dreaming and I'm tired of looking towards the future and wish I could just live in that dream and make it my reality right now And that's how I felt. Sometimes I get tired of the battle. The battle of fighting to look at where you are right now and then reminding you about the potential of the future. It feels like a constant battle. At times it could feel hopeless because you're like, okay, God, right now everything else looks like a mess. That's what I feel like. It's like everything presently in front of me, if I look at it with my clear eyes, it looks like a mess to me. And I don't see how you could turn this around. You feel like giving up because you're like, is this gonna get better? And those are the days where I just want to lie down, cross my arms, and just be like, I don't want to think about my dreams. I don't even want to think about anything because I feel like I'm just body slammed by all the stuff that's going on in my life. And I know this may seem ungrateful to some, but there's times where I'm accomplishing things, but I'm not happy about it because it's not the exact things that I want to accomplish, but I'm accomplishing other things that's like on the sideline. So it's not exactly what you would want to accomplish, but it's things that have come your way, or maybe doors have opened that God has opened, and you're like, this is not ideal, but you're accomplishing it. But then in the outside world, everyone's happy for you, but you're like, this is not exactly what I'm imagining. But recently I had to change my mindset around it and realize that there's no wrong turn when it comes to God. I sometimes feel like I have to go into a perfect path, but that's not the case because there's something along the way that I need to learn. There's something that God needs to bring me through so I can get to my destination, so I can be able to handle what He's about to give me. And I found out when I came to that revelation of there's no wrong turns, that just made me feel better. There's no wrong turns if God is directing your steps. And it usually takes a while for me to reset my mind, to look at the situation through God's lens. Easier said than done. But once you do, you get that different perspective and it makes you want to keep on going. Because let's face it, if you're in a situation that's not ideal, if you look at it through God's lens, there's way worse situations that you could be in. I have to smile with people I see regularly, knowing that they'll never be a part of my awesome milestones. Because if they aren't a part of the bad times, why would I want them to be part of the good times? No one truly cares about you as they claim because they are caught up in their own lives. And I've learned to accept that dynamic in the world we live in. You literally have to look out for yourself because no one will. Now I'm reading that sounds so negative. Like, I was thinking from a really dark place. I'm reading that and I'm like, that is so negative. Ooh. And I believe that statement just came from a lot of disappointment from people in my life. I'm not gonna lie, or people that I thought would have done something differently but didn't. Because there's times where you're like, I understand because people have their own things going on. But there's times where you're like, man, I wish they did something different. They did a different course of action. And it's something that God is working on me with, is learning that, okay, people are human, they're not perfect, they're not God, so they're gonna do mistakes. And it's getting over that point of people who have disappointed you, who just missed the mark and they didn't do what you thought they should have done. And that's hard. And I'm tired of people always saying, oh, like they're not perfect. And it's like we just brush it. But the reality is, at times it hurts. Right? It could play with your mind. If you go down that rabbit hole, it could just play with your mind and make you not want to have any relationship with people. But because I see some of these people on a consistent basis, I've had to learn to look past it and recognize that this is where they are and this is their capacity, and just kept it in my mind to know that it's okay for me to have boundaries. There's certain things I would just never include them in some of the major milestones that's very important to me. Because I'm at a point in my life, I only want to include people in my life who are in it, whether it's bad, ugly, or the worst. I've noticed that there's sometimes people who only want to be a part of the good parts. The bad parts make them uncomfortable. We're always just expected to live up to society to make people feel good and not uncomfortable because it's the right thing to do. So yeah, this is something that God's been working on me with, because I know that line is just so negative because it makes you feel and think like all people are bad, but they're not. It's just understanding the capacity. That's what it comes down to. People will say they miss you and never pick up the phone and call you. When people say they miss me and they haven't called or made any attempt to contact me, I just do a smirk, and in my mind I am rolling my eyes. When people say they care about me, I just smile because I know that people say words to make them feel better, for their conscience to feel better, but they don't really mean it. So you may think that is negative, but this is the truth. I see it from the outside perspective of not coming from the typical family dynamic. I see it from the perspective of someone who's alone. And of course, there's great people out there, and you just have to remember to keep those ones close. Keep them close, because it's so rare. When I read that back, I'm like, dang, that was so deep. These are things that I think I've never said to people out loud, but always had it in my mind. That thought really came out because I remember there was someone, like a friend that I used to talk to, and I remember I called them, and then after that we didn't have a conversation again. I ended up communicating with them, and then they wrote back saying, oh, I miss you. At that moment, I looked at that specific words, and I remember thinking to myself, no you don't, because you haven't attempted to call, you haven't attempted to make any type of communication connection. And I don't think I ever responded to that, because I was like, okay, but don't just say it, but show me. Nowadays people lack following their words with action, and people have just got used to just saying nice things but not really meaning it. It's so important to follow your words with action. If you really miss someone, call them, text them, actually tell them, hey, I've been thinking about you, blah blah. And because I'm aware of this, I make the effort. If I haven't spoken to someone in a while or haven't heard from them, I will purposely contact them. Even if it's just, hey, just wanted to say hi, and that's it. I know I made sure to say that it was negative because I know it could sound negative. As I wrote that line in that moment, there was something a part of me that reminded me, hey, there's good people out there. When you meet someone that's great, who genuinely cares about you and checks up on you, it's important to keep them close and not push them away. You getting bad experiences from one person should not penalize the other people who genuinely adore you and admire you and love you and care for you. I think that's so precious. I think in that moment there was a small voice that, as I was writing it, reminded me, Nakia, there's good people out there that care about you. As much as in that moment where I felt down and I was like, no one cares, everyone just says all these nice things and they don't really mean it. But there's a part that reminded me, though, there's good people. I could have thought of a few people who genuinely cared. But it's important that you notice it when they come by, because it's easy to push them away. Sometimes when I do get people around me who care about me, there's times where I want to push them away. They're not really like my friend, they're just trying to be nice. There's the other side where I want to self-sabotage it, but I then remind myself, nope, they're good people. They genuinely like you. I had a friend the other day, recently, we hadn't talked for months, but she just reached out and said, hey, I've been thinking about you, and we ended up meeting up and having a really good time. And I remember thinking, this is what it's about. And there was a moment where I thought to myself, okay, so we didn't talk for months, but she admired me so much and liked my friendship so much that she thought of me and was like, hey, let's hang out. And it was to the point where she was late and she was so apologetic, and she was like, hey, like, I'll buy your drinks and food. And I was like, see, that's such a nice person. She really cherished the friendship. She cherished my company. And it's the little things like that that sometimes we can let go over our heads because we're so focused on the people who just didn't meet those demands. If this resonated with you, drop a comment. If you'd like to see this turn into a journal series. This is just me reacting to the things I wrote at the time. And so this may be the beginning of healing for all of us.